Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a great show lined up, but if you're new to Biz Rap Radio, we are the show all about entrepreneurs and small business people. Hey, something you may not know out there, that small business people and entrepreneurs, these are the drivers of the U.S. economy. That's right. Most people in the United States work for small businesses, and most people and most of the new jobs are created by small businesses. But you know, when the economy's in rough shape, does the government worry about small businesses? Are they bailing out your local laundromat, your local lawnmower repair shop? No, they're bailing out the fat cats on Wall Street, the big corporations. But really, where it all happens in America, we've got a history of entrepreneurism. We've got a history of small business. That's what makes us different from a lot of other places in the world. And we're here to support small businesses. We're here to try and help you as a small business person to do what you need to do, which is make a profit. Yes, it's not a dirty word. You're allowed to make a profit. In fact, you should make lots of profit. And what do you do with that money that you make? Well, you reinvest it in your business. You take care of your employees. You take care of your family. And you take care of your community. That's what small business people across America are doing. And so, remember, I've got a philosophy. If you do have a successful business, don't leave all your money in that business. You never know what's going to happen. The economy changes, tastes change, things change. What you need to do is you need to take some of that money off the table, put it somewhere else. And if you're not an expert at investing, don't think you can do it yourself. You know, big mistake I see a lot of small businessmen make is they think, hey, I know everything about ice cream shops because I've got 3 successful ice cream shops, so therefore I know everything about everything. But, you know, that's not the case. You need to recruit experts who can help you where you don't have the knowledge and the expertise. And that is why I am really, really happy to have in the studio with me the gentleman that I do have, because he is unquestionably an expert. I have Phillip Walker. Phillip is with Network Solutions Provider. That's the name of his company. And Phillip, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm saying you were an expert. Your company, Network Solutions Provider, website networksolutionsprovider.com. You're basically what I would call an outsourced IT specialist. Would that properly describe your business?
You know, it's probably one of the more unique or very functional names that are giving what we do. But in the cloud revolution and where we're at today with IT, I tend to look of us as a IT business productivity company more so than a managed services, right? So, you know, a managed services company would describe what we do in terms of, you know, we were doing the NACIS codes, right? Mm-hmm. But in terms of what we provide our clients and what we're doing today, it's more of IT business productivity.
Gotcha. So, okay. So, I always get hung up on buzzwords because sometimes I really don't know what they mean, and I know a lot of my listeners find the same thing. So what does that mean, business productivity? How could you translate that into something that's really meaningful for, say, somebody who right now, let's say he owns a chain of 3 muffler shops. What is that going to mean to him?
Well, to a muffler shop guy, and when you look at what he does on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, productivity, you know, we look at it solving complex issues and challenges that he may have, right? Mm-hmm. So let's start with the obvious one. 3 locations, you're talking about inventory, resources, people, time, and a huge investment on his time. Mm-hmm. You know, what we would do is use IT to solve some of those problems.
Gotcha.
Single pane of glass to manage inventory, services, pricing. You know, are your margins correct? Are you pricing out everything? Discounts, you know, are you discounting away your profits and running blind? So we can use IT to solve these problems and make a smaller company run as if he was 300 stores.
Gotcha. So you're gonna add that kind of efficiency. Well, that's something I've really noticed. And I one area I've really noticed this is in what I call customer relationship management systems. It used to be 20 years ago, only people, huge corporations like the phone company or some big credit card company, could actually have a system that you could track your interactions with your customers. But now, I mean, you can use these systems as often $45, $50 a month, and you can have a full-blown CRM system where you can track all of your sales, all of your communications with your customer, the customer's profile. But one of the things I've noticed, I've seen a lot of small businesses go out and acquire a really powerful piece of software, but they don't get their full value out of it because they really don't know how to use it properly. Do you help in that area?
Yes, and that's actually one of the biggest challenges for the SMBs today is when you purchase something, you're purchasing something as we consider as an IT solution. That this is my square peg for my square hole. And I stick it in the hole and it works. But I'm only using a quarter of the efficiencies that are in here. And it's missing training, it's missing implementations, it's missing post-op support. And then the most important piece is that nobody did a discovery piece on your business, right? You went to the website, you talked to a sales rep, you listened to all the features, it sounded amazing, and you bought it. But no one taught you how to bend it to your needs. And it's a problem that has been chronically for a very long time in the SMB market. I remember when I was in high school, I went to a very small school in the Imperial Valley, and our teacher teaching business talked about farms a lot because that's what was out there. And he says the thing with running your farm is that you have crops who come in all the time. And what happens is that you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to change anything, not too much, but you realize that you could be doing better. When you go to the tractor store and you see this beautiful machine that looks like it could help you, it looks like it is to solve your problems. The sales rep explains it, you get a really good deal, you negotiate a deal as entrepreneurs always do, and you walk out of the door with this beautiful tool, and you're using it, and it does exactly what you thought it was going to do. But there are 75% of it that you're not tapping into.
Right.
So the thing with software is amazing nowadays. The change is are you really using it to the benefit? Did you overbuy software? Did you underbuy software? Are you utilizing the software that you currently have? We just did a recently blog on free software and the cost of free software when it breaks. And there's all these tools that we use, but we just don't understand why we're using them, and they seem to work, and they seem to be better, but we don't get them integrated. So we help with that. An efficient use of software will increase your company's productivity by 60%. So you can tie employee efficient time, things that employees could do more per hour. So if you have hourly employees and you want to make them more efficient, this is that. Happier employees work faster. They do more.
Sure.
Right? Business owners can make quicker decisions. You can figure out your holes a lot faster, and you can support your clients a lot better, right? So from a customer experience standpoint, you're able to react to issues. I always say that the average business owner has 4 voicemails, boxes that they have. And if a client calls you, where are they leaving that message? And how often do you check all 4 voicemails?
Right.
Because you have a phone on your desk that has a phone number and a voicemail. Your cell phone has one now. You have email, right? Your receptionist has a voicemail box. So if I call in with a problem, 9 times out of 10, if you're not available or fixing another issue, am going to voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
We call it customer purgatory. I always laugh at the people when I see them pulled over at McDonald's off to the side waiting for their food, right?
Right, yeah. Well, that's because they have special orders. If they just ordered a Big Mac the way it comes, but no, they have special orders. But look at Phil. I know you got lots to say. We are coming up on a commercial break. We got to go to commercial break. I want to talk more about this because this is so interesting. It's Mike Manahan, Biz Rap Radio. I'm here with Phillip Walker, his company, Network Solutions Provider. Check it out. And we will be back with more Biz Rap Radio right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for sticking with us. If you just joined us, we are talking to Phillip Walker. His company is Network Solutions Provider. You can check it out at networksolutionsprovider.com. Phil his company provides outsourced IT, but he does more than that. And Phil, you were talking about business productivity and how businesses today need to use these, I guess you would call them software tools to improve productivity, and not just productivity, but also customer service.
Correct.
I imagine what you probably see is a lot of companies, smaller companies in particular. Oh, I should ask about your customer base. Who is a target customer for your company?
It really varies. Initially, when we started the company, we thought we were going to be doing it by size, right? Small versus medium for large. What I realized very quickly is that the needs are very universal. So people come to us for needs. So we come to us in one or two ways. One, they don't have a certified IT department. And how do I quantify that? That means that their uncle's brother's cousin that fixes their computers when things break has no Microsoft certifications. They have no technical certification. They just happen to know something about IT.
Typically enough to be dangerous.
Yes, enough to be dangerous, enough to keep you functional. The second thing is that for small businesses, when things break, you have to lug your laptop down to a store. Right? Whether it's a small retail front that has IT or down to your local Best Buy or somebody like that, and then you've got to wait 3 to 5 days. What we've found is that proactive support allows us to spot issues. We found that if we are monitoring the business, then we can see issues with hard drives, protection, software conflicts, missing emails, etc., things of that nature, and be able to fix things before they get big. And then we also found that some people who have an IT staff need more people. So we provide bodies.
Gotcha.
So we can expand your 10-person IT team to 30 and then shrink back down to 10 if need be. Or if you don't have an IT department, we can take it over.
So let's say there's a company listening and they're not in the Los Angeles area, because your business is in the Los Angeles area. Let's say they're in Phoenix, Arizona. They got kind of one IT guy working in the company, or maybe they got 2 IT guys, but they don't think that's quite enough. Would you be able to help them, or does the company need to be local to where you're located?
No, we are a nationwide company, so we can provide support, products, and services for anybody in the United States at this point in time.
Gotcha.
So if you're in Phoenix, we would have, depending on how your solution is set up or what you signed up with us, we would be able to support you, we would be able to coach you, we would be able to monitor all your services from LA. We do have another location in Ohio, and we do have what we consider customer advocates throughout the country.
Okay.
People who are gone through our certification process, who've met our vendor certification process, who hold at least a minimum of 4 IT certifications. And through that, we've created an ecosystem of people, experts, if you will, that you can ask questions to, that you have access to. People that you normally couldn't afford if you were a small business.
Right. Okay, so Phil's company, again, it is Network Solutions Provider, networksolutionsprovider.com. And even though Phil's located here in the Los Angeles area, He actually operates nationally. So if you have IT needs for your company, if your current IT staff may be struggling a little bit, they need some support, or if you are like many small companies, you really don't have an IT staff, you take that computer and run on down to Best Buy and stand in line to get it fixed, you might want to consider talking to Phil. And we've been talking about using business software to improve efficiencies. And, this has, I think, become a big issue, Phil, now that a lot of these cities are increasing minimum wage and no more $7 an hour workers. Everybody's making $15, going to be making $15 an hour, and right after that, somebody else. What happens? The big competition going on. San Francisco says we're going to be $15 an hour, and Seattle says, well, we're going to be $18 an hour, and before you know it, you got a clerk making $50,000 a year. You really need to be efficient. You need to get productivity out of your people, and clearly using technology is one way to do that.
Yes. The first thing we tell companies is, and it totally goes against what we do, and it always floors entrepreneurs, is to stop buying technology. 60% of all businesses overspend on the IT. Mm-hmm. And when I first saw that number, I didn't understand it. I started reading Gartner reports, IDC reports. I started watching Bloomberg reports, and I looked at the data, and I realized that it was true. Mm-hmm. We buy retail on a very large level. Mm-hmm. Toner, printer, computers, people, staff. So our IT costs are through the roof. You add in a $15 an hour receptionist, and all of a sudden now my business product profitability has changed. Mm-hmm. So from a profitability standpoint, I always tell business owners, stop buying technology, and start to really figure out what it is you want to do before you do it, because the rising costs of IT are not going down. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can get a computer today or a laptop today for $400, but is that computer or laptop the best for your business? Mm-hmm. Right? Has someone sat down and figured out how you use it? Do you know what type of business, what type of computers do you guys have? Do you buy the latest and greatest? Mm-hmm. Do you buy consumer grade products and then use them for business, which a lot of businesses do? Mm-hmm. How often does those consumer based products break? Right. How often are you refreshing your technology? When's the last time you updated your technology? When's the last time you used the right software for the technology? How many, holes do you have in your payroll, your CRM, that you're missing on? Mm-hmm. We had a restaurant recently, a restaurant chain that we sat down with, and I explained to him, says, hey, you have 5 locations. You have 500 customers who come to see you on a regular basis. You don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. Maybe by face. Right. But you don't know their birthdays. Uh-huh. You don't know their anniversaries, right? You can't remember all that stuff. Like, how could you, you're running a restaurant, people are coming to your restaurant, and you have no idea why. Mm-hmm. You assume that it's the food and the locations. But have you ever asked them? Have you ever surveyed them, right? And it's like, well, yeah, I email a newsletter out once a month, and, maybe they get it with some specials. But are you engaging them, social media? Right.
Well, there's a huge difference, you're right, between kind of, we send out a newsletter once a month, or we have a Facebook page as to, are you really engaging your customers? Right. Yeah, I was out at a restaurant last night, and we were talking about this very thing, and you've probably experienced this. You're going to go out to dinner with somebody, and you go, where should we go? And you name off a few places, and then finally you say, okay, we'll go here. And the minute you sit down and order, you think, hey, do you remember we were planning on going to this other restaurant, and we forgot all about the place? Right. Because that restaurant when we found out about it, somehow never managed to engage us, and its name just disappeared out of our minds. And then we didn't think about it until we were again sitting down. We said, well, next time we'll go there.
Yeah. People are habit-based, right? And you're right. Let's go to the restaurant we always go to, right? It's the norm theory, right? Right. I want to go someplace where they know my name. Yeah. Right? And that's what we do, And from a technology standpoint, if I'm reaching out to you, then I'm engaging you when you're not in my restaurant. I'm saying, hey, we have we know that you eat this meal every time you come in, and it just went on sale. What are the chances of me coming to your location?
Sure, absolutely.
Right? That's using the data and analytics to figure out how do I bring these people in? What are my slow days at the restaurant? Right? Why am I slow Wednesdays at 2? Right? What can I do to bring in customers at Wednesday at 2? And Groupon, sometimes not the answer. Right? Discounting is not good for small businesses.
It certainly isn't.
Yeah, it just certainly isn't. But it's a practice that we continue to do. Is we're just going to keep lowering our price till people buy it.
Well, it's interesting because I have many times used those Groupons or similar coupons, and I'm amazed at the number of times I've done it. And I go in, I eat the meal, and knowing that I'm there on a Groupon, nobody from the staff says, well, can I have your email address? Why did you come here? Are you satisfied? What would make you come back? I mean, there's nothing. It's just, okay, they got the business. They got my business with the less than $20 or whatever, and that's it. And then I go on and probably never come back. But before you answer that, Phil, we are at that time again. We're coming to the end of this segment. You're going to stick with us for a couple more segments, I'm hoping. It's a very interesting conversation we're having. It's Phillip Walker, NetworkSolutionsProvider.com. And it's BizRap Radio, your host, Michael Manahan. We are going to be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And if you just joined us on the show today, we are talking to Phillip Walker. He is the owner, founder of Network Solutions Provider. It's an outsourced IT firm as well as business processes and systems. I'm really having an interesting conversation with Phil because, whenever we think of IT people, we think of kind of the propeller head that sits in the back room, a bit of an IT geek, but Phil is no IT geek. He's very thoughtful and profound in how he believes that your software and your IT can actually integrate with your business processes, productivity, customer service, customer retention. And I find that absolutely refreshing as opposed to somebody who's just talking, software and technology. So, Phil, thanks again for sticking with us.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Okay,
now, I want to mention something because you're not just the run-of-the-mill IT individual and IT company. You were actually the CIO finalist here in Los Angeles in the Los Angeles Business Journal 2 years running. You were named to one of Inc. magazine's lists of top entrepreneurs. You are a successful entrepreneur in your own right. You founded a business. You built it from scratch. You're successful. You continue to grow. Tell me a little bit about your business and how you got started.
Well, the story of us getting started was was more based on a pain, right? So I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was corporate raised. I wanted to work for the big company, right? So coming out of college, I wanted to work for the Oracles of the world, and that's where I wanted to be. I wanted my company cup, business cards, and parking space. I did very good in the corporate world. Very young director, very young vice president of sales and marketing, very technical, very good at understanding business, and very good at understanding how to put it together. Fortunately, I had a very big company spend a lot of money on me in terms of development and understanding in business, and actually let me run one of their markets. Then one day they decided that they were going in a different direction.
Big companies do that.
Yeah, they tend to do that once they change leadership at the top.
Yeah.
And I was forced with the notion of finding a job or finding a job. So naturally, I started combing my network. This is before LinkedIn. I started calling all the other people that I knew and, hey, what do you have going on? And maybe I can get an interview. And, I signed up on Monster and Career Builder. And I had someone that I respected very, very well take me to lunch and ask me why I wanted a job. And I responded because I got to pay bills.
Sure.
Right? Like, I want to work for the big company, right? Let's work for this company. And they said, well, why? And I didn't have an answer. Then they asked me, well, what my favorite car was. And I said it was the Phantom Rolls. And they said, that's a beautiful car. I says, yes, it's sleek, it's elegant, it's beautiful. It's just so many great things about that car. He says, you realize that it's a $500,000 plus car. Yes. You realize that you will never drive that car on your salary. No, it never dawned on me. It just had never hit me. And I remember that moment because I realized that my dreams did not meet my actions. I realized that what I was doing on a day-to-day basis wasn't fulfilling, right? You know, I remember reading Dr. Phil's book, and he talked about that, where he had success, but he wasn't successful, right? There was a piece, there was something missing.
Sure.
When I sat down and thought about what I wanted to do, it was based on me. What do I want to do, right? What are my hobbies? What are my goals? What are my interests, right? Like, hey, you know, I like the water, I like the ocean. Maybe I can be a marine biologist, right? Like, you know, but again, I found that looking for things to serve led me into business. And I remember sitting down with an IT company as a consultant. They were paying me a lot of money to come in there. And I sat down in their boardroom and I sold them my product, which was me. And they bought. And as a consultant, I gave them the best advice possible. 20 pages of recommendations, forecasts, performance, you name it, it was in there. One of my better works from a strategy standpoint. They didn't know how to do it. They didn't have the people to execute it. They didn't have the resources in place. They didn't have any of the things that they needed to do it. It says, this sounds great. This would make us a lot of money. But we don't have the people, resources. No one knows how to do any of this stuff, you know, and that's when it hit me that we needed an IT services company that actually served and not just sold products. And that is where the idea has come from, network solution provider.
So, and how long ago was that?
7 years ago.
Okay, 7 years. You started the business 7 years ago. Do you mind sharing with us? We've already talked about you're national. You have customers all over the U.S. What about, do you mind telling us how many people you employ between, say, employees and subcontractors?
Subcontractors, we sit around 80 subcontractors, okay, because we are nationwide. And what we've done is we've created an ecosystem, or what we consider a BEST. So Business and Power Solutions Team is what it's named. In order to be part of the BEST program, again, you have to carry 4 or 5, actual certifications that you've gotten under us. That you have had business experience, whether you've A, run your own business, or B, you have been a part of a bigger business. And then when you sit down with a actual business owner, you can actually give them advice to help them. So the experience with us is different than your typical IT guy, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
You know, not a lot of jargon, not a lot of words that you don't understand. Cloud this, operation system that. Really get down to running the company, right? And then using IT as the tools to support those efforts and helping you get it.
Gotcha.
And then not running out of the door with a check afterwards, after you've bought them from us, but then providing ongoing support. So, you know, what separates us from all the other managed service providers out there is that we don't push products, that we push solutions.
Gotcha.
And then after you buy a solution from us, we don't go anywhere. That we continuously support, train, and mentor with your company, and we do IT planning.
So what is, okay, you started your own business, been in business for 7 years. Obviously, you're still in business, so you must be successful. You've got built up this tremendous team of employees and outside experts and consultants you can bring in to tackle just about any project. What are the challenges for other entrepreneurs who are out there listening today and thinking, yeah, I'd like to take a crack at starting my own business? What are they going to have to face, and what do they need to overcome?
You know, the first challenge you have is yourself. It's a commitment to the idea, your why. Because if your why isn't strong, the first time you run into trouble, you're going to head out. So you have to be ready for the worst, right? You have to be prepared. The second thing you're going to run into is resistance from friends and family.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about that a lot on this show. How the people around you sometimes can be so negative when you think you've got the greatest idea in the world.
Right. I remember when I first started my first company, I would get up in the morning and I'd walk over to my home office, and my roommate at the time would look at me and shake his head as he walked to his job. And he just couldn't figure out what I was doing. And it was always this disgusting, despicable look because, you're in your PJs at a computer working. That's not real work. Like, what are you doing? I come from Ohio. I come from a steel home. Blue collar, work every day, double shifts, overtime is what puts food on the table. You work sun up to sundown. That's how I was raised. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I tried to explain to them what I was doing, the looks that I got. Now, they're very supportive, and they understand now. But at the time, it was, you're going to do what? Yeah. So how do you get paid, and when does the checks come in?
Exactly, right? Yeah.
The third thing is you got to figure out a strategy. I can't impose strategy versus business plan. A business plan is a plan. It is what you do, why you do it, how you're going to do it. Strategy is when and where you're going to do it and how often you need to get it done. And not everybody gets to that level on that, right? You have to have a playbook, a day-to-day playbook of what you do and what you expect other people to do. The business plan is not going to tell you that. It's going to tell you that you need a IT department, but it's not going to tell you what that IT department does. It's going to tell you that you need an HR department, but it's not going to tell you how that company is. So.
Okay, Phil, we got to hold it there. We got to go to commercial break. This is so interesting. We are on with Phil Walker. Network Solutions Provider is his company. Check it out, networksolutionsprovider.com. BizRap Radio, your host, Mike Manahan. We'll be right back. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and we are in studio today with Phillip Walker. He is the CEO and founder of Network Solutions Provider. You can check them out at networksolutionsprovider.com. His company is an IT outsourcing company, but also focuses on business productivity solutions and how you can use information technology and software to empower your business, serve your customers, improve productivity, and do all the things that hopefully will put more money in your pocket. You can check out Phil's company at networksolutionsprovider.com. And Phil, once again, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to relate one story because one of the things you talked about was overbuying technology, and I am doing a little bit of consulting work right now with a small company. They've got do a few $1 million in revenue, and they've got maybe about 10 employees, but they do job costing, and job costing is common in construction companies and things like that, manufacturing firms. And they were using QuickBooks. Most people familiar with QuickBooks, and it just didn't quite do something that they wanted to do. So they hired a consultant. The consultant came in, looked at their business, and the consultant proposed that they go to a very complex ERP system. These are the kind of systems you could run a $1 billion manufacturing company on the system they have. They spend a lot of money installing the system, but now one of the biggest problems they have is you don't get a $15 an hour clerk who could perhaps run QuickBooks or make entries in QuickBooks to be able to make entries in this system. It is really complex, and if you make a mistake, it is tremendously difficult to fix your mistakes. So they've got this albatross around their head in order to get something that they probably could have gotten a workaround by using a spreadsheet or something else. Do you see that kind of thing happen?
Often, scarily often, and typically we don't get the phone call until they are 60 days from closing their doors or firing everybody in their IT department. It's typically when we get the call.
Yeah.
the overspending of IT in business is really gotten to an egregious amount. And that example hits home, but a lot of owners don't admit to that mistake. Like it gets in the way. Hey, I shouldn't have bought this. Or they did buy the right thing, but they didn't buy all the pieces to it to make it work for their business. And I think those are the two different things that happen that I see when it comes to buying IT. Think of the cost: consultant, pricing, implementation, software. Let's just say that they spent a good $200,000-$300,000, not including time, resources, and people and training that it took away from this system that was supposed to be magical. And it probably is magical. If it's an ERP solution, it probably could run everything in their business, probably. But without the proper expertise to bend to their business, it's useless. It's a car with no engine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like me going into an operating room and picking up all the surgeon's tools, but not knowing anything about surgery. I'd kill the patient pretty quick.
Very quickly, yeah, very quickly. But the patient's your baby.
Yeah,
it's your company. It's the thing that you've bled for. It's the thing that you lose sleep for. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is that when I'm typically walking into a door, it's almost at that too late point. Hey, we've just spent an egregious amount of money on something and we can't make it work.
That's sad. But I've also seen the same thing. A lot of money spent on IT solutions that just don't seem to do the job. How do you avoid that? What's the strategy? So somebody's listening to us right now. An IT solution can help us, but how do we keep from making the big mistake?
Phases and expenses, costs, and people. And then that roadmap needs to support your business and your strategy. So that will avoid you from what I call buying on instinct, right? So, hey, we're at 5 employees. We're going to buy this computer. This computer is going to last us 5 years. The software is going to last us this amount of time. This copier is going to last us this amount of time. And then we're not going to spend any more money on these pieces until we get to this point. And the money that we save, we're going to use on the future stuff, the big picture stuff, right? So there's no chicken before the egg. It's literally a planned idea going forward. The second thing to do to avoid that mishap is to find an expert. Not an expert in the product, but an expert in your business. Find somebody who really understands what it is that you want to do, not just what the product does, right? Because any person can sit down and explain to you the megabytes and the RAM and how to work it, but is it going to work for my business?
Right.
What software works best for my industry? Right? I know this is the best, everybody uses, the mainstream software programs, but what about my vertical? What are we using in my vertical, right? What are my competitors using?
That's a good idea. Find out what your competitors are using. Yeah, if they're using something and it's working, maybe it's something you should use. And if it's not working, maybe that's
your advantage.
It's your advantage, absolutely. It's not easy, but okay. Let's say there's somebody out there. They're thinking about, I need to do something on the IT. Phil, they should contact you. Would be a good idea.
Yeah, we call it Ask the Experts, right? So, we have an access to think tank people, best practices, vendors, specialists, analysts, and we circle questions through our solution. So if it's a complex IT solution, we could fairly figure it out. If it's a simple thing that is just best practices rules, then we can handle it. But, for your listeners, if they want to reach out and send me an email, at info@networksolutionprovider.com, and mention your radio show, then we will definitely take a shot at answering all questions that we receive, hypotheticals or whatever the case may be. I mean, being an entrepreneur as I am, I like to tinker. And solving problems allows me to tinker.
Sure. Well, that's great. So take Phil up on that. If you're struggling with an IT issue in your own company, definitely reach out to Phil. Again, you can go to info@networksolutionsprovider.com, send him an email, check out their website, networksolutionsprovider.com. And, of course, so happy to have Phil on the show because he's not just an individual who helps a lot of small business. He businesses. He is in his own right a very successful entrepreneur, started the business from scratch, a role model to other entrepreneurs out there. And we need more people like Phil on this planet, at least in this country. It's just as simple as that. Phil, we've got maybe about a couple of minutes left here. Any parting thoughts for the budding entrepreneurs of the world?
I think the main thing, especially in the trend that we are right now, is to protect your business from an IT standpoint. That internet security is not something that you should just relaxingly let go. The notion that nobody wants to hack you is a far notion of it. As the bigger companies get stronger with IT, the hackers are going to start to come downstream.
Okay, so a lot of small companies think, well, I don't need to worry about that because I'm not a billion-dollar corporation. They're not going to hack me. But
as the billion-dollar corporations get better at IT security and they build up their walls, they have to raid and plunder somebody.
And so they'll start plundering the smaller people out there.
Correct.
Well, that is really, really good advice. It's important that everybody thinks about security, and particularly today when it just seems everybody is being breached. The federal government, Ashley Madison. I mean, think of all those poor guys out there looking for affairs who, might be caught by their wives. Oh, boy, that could be big trouble.
And antivirus is just not enough. And we teach that to our clients, and that's one of the first things that we do with our security assessment is that the free Norton antivirus that you got on your consumer computer is not enough to protect your business and your files. Email needs to be scanned. Text messages now need to be scanned. Mobile devices are being hacked. Wi-Fi networks in your office need to be secure. There's just so much that a business has vulnerable that they're just not paying attention to. Our cloud software works with all those pieces. It gives you a complete, bundle. I always joke it's like the old castles with the walls and the moat, right? You
got to have both.
You got to have both.
Well,
right?
look at Phil. We need to bring it to an end. It's been so great having you on the show today. I really, really enjoyed it. It's Phil Walker, networksolutionsprovider.com. Check them out. Send an email to info@networksolutionsprovider.com if you want to communicate directly with Phil. Phil, thank you very much for being on the show.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's great. Okay, so it's BizRap Radio. Here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulations and a planned economy. That's it for BizRap Radio this week.